Sri Gurubhyo Namaha. This is your biology teacher Dhanlakshmi from Pon Vidyashram School. Today, in our session, we are going to discuss about transpiration in plants and a new topic, excretory system. So far, we discussed about transpiration in animals. Now, let's see how transpiration takes place in plants. Okay, see, there are some raw materials needed for building plant bodies. There are some materials which are required by the plant for its growth and development. Even for flowering, even for extending its branch, even for extending or increasing the length of the stem, it requires essential components. So how these essential components are taken up by the plant? How does it happen? Let's see one by one. For plants, the soil is the nearest source. The soil is rich in all the important nutrients. It is the nearest source as well as richest source of raw materials like nitrogen, phosphorus and other essential minerals. So the available nutrients present in the soil has to be absorbed by the plant. So how does it perform this process? With the help of roots. So the absorption of these substances therefore occurs through the part in contact. So only root is in contact with the soil. So root absorbs the essential nutrients from the soil. Okay. Now, a very important thing, if the distance between the soil and the leaf or the chlorophyll, okay, if the distance is very small, then it is easy for the plants to pass. It is easy for the plants to pass the nutrients, right? Because diffusion can happen very easily if the distance is very, very small. Okay, so more energy need not be required. Whereas, if the distance is very, very high, just think about tall trees, big trees, right? Just think about it. How do they transport all these substances, essential substances? So diffusion will not be sufficient, isn't it? So diffusion will not be sufficient to provide the raw materials in leaves, and that is not at all possible. So in this case or in this scenario, a proper system is required to perform transportation, right? They require a transport system, isn't it? So this transport system moves the energy stores from the leaves and raw materials from the roots. So they need a channel to perform this process or a pathway to perform this process. So they are nothing but xylem and phloem. Xylem and phloem play a very important role in a transportation process. Xylem moves the water and minerals from the soil, whereas phloem transport the food stored in one region and it is transported to other parts. Here the flow of nutrients happen only in one direction. It's right from the soil and it goes upward to all the branches. It will not revert back, so it travels only in one direction. Whereas over here the pathway of phloem is not like that. It is bidirectional, because food stored in one region, it has to be transported to the stem, to the root and all the branches of the trees, isn't it? So it is bidirectional in nature. And very important thing is, see, plants, they don't need much energy. They have a very low energy level. Okay. And as a result of that, they don't need a very fast transport system. They just require a very slow transport system, because the main reason behind this is plants do not move, right? And the plant bodies have a large proportion of dead cells also. So they don't need more energy level, just like human being or animals. Xylem moves the water and minerals from the soil. Water enters into the root and then into the stem and finally into the leaf and comes out as water vapor through stomata. The loss of water in the form of vapor is known as transpiration. So this transpiration creates a suction in this direction. When transpiration happens, it creates a suction. Suction of what? Suction of water. So this transpiration, it pulls the water to move in this direction. You can see the direction very clearly. It is moving in which direction? Upward. So this transpirational pull helps to move the water in upward direction. So it is the main advantage of transpiration. Apart from that, transpiration also helps the plant to maintain its temperature. You know how? When transpiration happens, it is actually cooling the plant. It helps to cool the plant, which may prevent the plant from overheating, especially from direct sunlight. So far, we discussed about the transportation of water and minerals with the help of xylem. Now we will discuss the transportation of food from leaves to different parts of the plant with the help of phloem. This transport of soluble products of photosynthesis is called translocation. And where does this happen? It happens in the part of vascular system known as phloem. The translocation of food and other substance takes place in sieve tubes, okay, with the help of the companion cells. So the sieve tube companion cells, they all are present in phloem. So here the movement of molecules happen in upward direction as well as lower direction or in any directions, right? Because the food is prepared in one region and it has to be distributed to all the parts of the plant, and it is only possible when the soluble substance, when it has the ability to move in all the directions. Whereas in xylem, it happens, the movement of water and minerals happens only in one direction. So there it is unidirectional, and over here in phloem it is bidirectional. Now let's see the process of transportation of food in phloem. Okay, see, the food is prepared by the leaves. First it moves into the sieve tubes of the phloem tissue using the energy from ATP, that is adenosine triphosphate. Xylem, the pulling of water happens through transpirational pull, whereas in phloem, the movement of food cannot happen just like that or naturally, because it needs an energy to perform this process. Okay, so the first step is food prepared by the leaves moves into the sieve tubes of the phloem using the energy from ATP. Now, same diagram only, so don't get confused. Water enters along with the food by the process of osmosis. So water molecule will also enter into it by the process of osmosis. You all know very well what is osmosis. Movement of molecules from a higher concentration to a lower concentration. Now, after it moves, what is the next step? As a result of this, this increases the pressure in the phloem. So when the pressure inside the phloem will increase. When the pressure inside the phloem increases, phloem moves the food to all the parts of the plant having less pressure. So here the molecules move from a higher pressure to a lower pressure. Got it? Now this is how the phloem moves the food to all the parts of the plant having less pressure. So mainly two important steps are involved in it. The first one is food prepared by the leaves moves into the sieve tubes of the phloem with the help of energy from ATP. Second step, so water enters along with the food by the process of osmosis. Third step, as a result of this, the pressure inside the phloem increases. When the pressure inside the phloem increases, this pressure, it helps the phloem to move the food to all the parts having less pressure. And this is how phloem transports the food and other important hormones to all the parts of the plant according to its need. Now let's get into the next part of the lesson and final part of the lesson, excretion. See, we all know that all the organisms are made up of cells, right? As you all know very well that each and every cell performs some process, some job, some work, right? So when any chemical reactions, when any biochemical reactions, when it takes place in the body, definitely, it produces some amount of toxic or some amount of poisonous, toxic means poisonous substances. in the body, right? So these poison substances must be removed from the body. Why it has to be removed? Just in order to maintain a favorable internal environment. So the process of removal of this waste product or the toxic product from our body is called excretion. Now let's discuss the parts of excretory system. Excretory system in human being comprises of these following parts. They are kidneys, a pair of kidneys, a pair of ureters, then a urinary bladder and a small opening called urethra. Now let's discuss the structure one by one. Kidneys. Kidneys are a reddish brown bean-shaped structure lying towards the back of our body, on either side of the vertebral column. That is exactly above the waist. Okay. Now, ureter. Ureters or the pair of whitish narrow tubes, which open from both the kidneys to the urinary bladder. In other words, you can say ureter connects kidneys to the urinary bladder. Next, urinary bladder. It is a bag which stores the urine for some time. And here you can see a small opening. This opening is just like a small tube through which the urine is passed out from the body. Okay. Now you got a picture about the structure of excretory system. I mean the important parts of excretory system, isn't it? Now we'll see the function of kidney. See, the blood in our body constantly passes through our kidneys, isn't it? Here you can see red color. The red color depicts a renal artery and the blue color depicts a renal vein. So from aorta, the oxygenated blood from aorta enters into the kidney through renal artery. Okay. Now this oxygenated blood contains the nitrogenous waste. It contains the nitrogenous waste, and these nitrogenous waste are filtered by a small microscopic units present inside the kidney. The small microscopic units are called nephrons. They are called nephrons. The small microscopic units are called nephrons, and it filters the nitrogenous waste from the blood. After the blood gets filtered, after the removal of the nitrogenous waste, what happens? The clean blood is carried away from the kidneys with the help of renal vein. Got it? So renal artery, it brings the oxygenated blood that contains the nitrogenous waste. It enters into the kidney. The nitrogen substances are filtered with the help of the nephron. It is a filtration unit. Then with the help of renal vein, the pure blood, the deoxygenated blood, which is devoid of nitrogenous waste, will leave the kidney. Got it? Still it is deoxygenated. Renal vein contains deoxygenated blood, but it doesn't possess what? Nitrogenous substances. Now let's see the structure of nephron. I said right, nephron, where it is present. There are millions of nephrons present in the kidney. It is available in the kidney. So nephron is the structure and function unit of excretion. It is the one that filters the blood. Okay, it removes the nitrogenous waste from the blood. So there are millions of nephrons. Now we are going to see about the structure of nephron. So here I am going to talk about a single. This is just one nephron. This is one cell, nephron cell. Okay. So each nephron has a cup-shaped cavity called Bowman's capsule. And here you can see some convolutions, right? Convolution means what? Fold, bend. So this tubule is nothing but tubes. Here you can see a tubular structure. So this convoluted tubule is called proximal convoluted tubule. Okay, it is called proximal convoluted tubule. And here you can see a U-shaped tubule, right? This is a descending limb and this one is ascending, right? This U-shaped loop is called Henle's loop or loop of Henle. Okay, and here you can see a convolutions, right? Just like a proximal convoluted tubule. Here also you can see some convolution, some bend, some fold. This is called distal convoluted tubule. So here it is called proximal convoluted tubule. Here it is called distal convoluted tubule. And finally you can see a tubular structure over here. This is called collecting duct. This is the last part of the nephron. This is called collecting duct, and the urine is formed over here, right? It's formed, and finally it is removed from the kidney. The mechanism of urine formation includes 3 steps, namely glomerular ultrafiltration, tubular reabsorption, tubular secretion. The first step, filtration, ultrafiltration. The filtration of the blood takes place in the Bowman's capsule. If you see the Bowman's capsule, you can see a bunch network of capillaries over here. This capillaries, the bunch of capillaries are together called glomerulus. The first initial filtration happens in glomerulus. So this filtrate, it will not filtrate the nitrogenous waste completely. So it can filter only few amount of substances. Now this filtrate contains glucose, amino acids, urea, uric acid, salts, and important components or major components. So as the filtrate flows along with the tubule, the useful substances such as glucose, amino acids, salt, water, they all are selectively reabsorbed in the tubules. Over here, all are selectively reabsorbed because these are the important components. It is selectively reabsorbed by the blood capillaries. Here you can see the red color part, isn't it? So the red color is nothing but capillaries. It is surrounded by, nephron is surrounded by capillaries. Over here, exchange of nutrients takes place. So all these important components, when they pass through the tubule, all these important components are filtered. It is sent, it is absorbed by the capillaries. Again, it is reverted back to the blood. Now, the next process is tubular secretion. So the filtrate which remains after the tubular secretion is nothing but urine. So urine is collected from the nephron by the collecting duct, okay, to carry it to the ureter. So this. Now let's see excretion in plants. Plants use a very different strategy for excretion than those of animals. Oxygen itself is actually considered as a waste product that is generated during photosynthesis process. Gaseous waste, then water, sometimes excess water is released in the form of transpiration. Then they store the organic waste over the bark of the tree. These organic waste are nothing but resins and gums. They store over the bark of the tree. These are also waste products. Then roots also excrete the waste products into the soil. Apart from all that, some waste products are also stored in leaves. It is stored in leaves. What happens, especially the waste products are actually stored in the vacuoles. And finally, that particular leaf will fall off. So these are the various methods in which plants get rid of their waste products. With this, we have come to the end of the lesson, life processes. I hope you have understood all the concepts related to it. Let me share a small quote. The human body is the most complex system ever created. The more we learn about it, the more appreciation we have about what a rich system it is. Thank you so much. Let me sign out with a beautiful smile and all the very best, my dear children, and enjoy learning. Thank you.